Hello dear friends, welcome back to yet another lecture of High Point, and in this video we are going to learn about the major dramatists of the Restoration Age, specifically the comedy of manners writing. So we all know that during the Restoration Age, drama was the towering genre, and there were two types of dramas prevalent. First one is the comedy of manners, and the second one is heroic tragedies. About the comedy of manners and about heroic tragedy, their features we have already in the introductory video of the Restoration Age, and about the heroic tragedy we have seen more when we discussed the works written by John Dryden. So about him, he's the most representative writer of the Restoration Age, but still we are not going to learn about him, John Dryden, in this particular video because we have already done individual video about him and his major works. So in this particular video we'll exclusively look at the comedy of manners, that genre writers, dramatists of the Restoration Age. Before going into the video, follow me on Instagram and also go and visit my website. There we have given a separate slot for the Restoration Age under the module the English literature. You can have all the materials, major or minor writers or any other topics related to paper 2 NTA UGC Net of English language and literature in my website. You can create an account there and you can see the entire materials that we are providing, and you can study one by one all of them, and you can have all of them once you subscribe to our course. Not only the audio lectures but also the downloadable PDF materials and the previous and practice question papers which are lively attemptable in the website. Go and visit and see. Let me know your impressions, and also follow me on Instagram. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not yet subscribed to it, and press the bell icon while you subscribe if you are a first time listener of these videos. Let's go into the video. The first playwright of the age is George Etheridge, who lived from 1635 to 1691. He is a Restoration playwright, and his first play is The Comical Revenge or Love in a Tube, which was staged or written in the year 1664, and it was premiered at the Duke's Theatre in 1664. Sometimes the details, this kind of details about plays are important. And another title of the play, you must remember, The Comical Revenge has another title which is Love in a Tube. Remember that as well. This play introduced a style of wit hitherto unknown to the English stage. See, George Etheridge is important, even though you may not find any plays written by him in the PG syllabus when you learn the Restoration Age, but still he is important. Why? Because it is believed that it was Etheridge who introduced the comedy of manners. See, through his first play, which was his first play, The Comical Revenge or Love in a Tube. So he introduced a kind of wit, a kind of new theme which was hitherto unknown to English stage. So romance was so prevalent in English stage, tragedies were prominent, tragic comedies were prevalent, many other themes, but hitherto unknown wit and bawdy topics, sexually connotated topics were so abundant in comedy of manners plays. So that was introduced by George Etheridge. So it is believed that comedy of manners was introduced to English stage by George Etheridge. So in that matter he is so important. I have seen a previous question related to George Etheridge regarding this point. Okay. And in 1668 he brought out the She Could If She Could, a comedy full of action, wit, spirit and immoral at the same time. See, these characteristics, comedy full of action, wit, spirit, immoral at the same time. So these features are the major characteristics of comedy of manners plays. All those characters are quite visible in his 1668 play She Would If She Could. It is a comedy again. And Etheridge's last play as The Man of Maud came out in 1676. He is famous for its creation of the great fop, Sir Flopping Flutter. So Sir Flopping Flutter is a character which is quite famous as one of the great fops of English stage, and Sir Flopping Flutter can be found in Etheridge's The Man of Mode of 1676. If you feel it is difficult to remember these years, then at least remember the titles and some points related to them, and also the author who has written those works. Okay, the next person is William Wycherley. William Wycherley is quite famous. You will learn The Country Wife written by Wycherley in your MA classes. Most of you must have learned. I have learned The Country Wife, and he is best known for his plays The Country Wife and The Plain Dealer. Country Wife was in the year 1675 and The Plain Dealer in 1677. William Wycherley lived from 1641 to 1716. Okay, pleasure and the stage were his only interest. So he was so much into stage, the theatrical artistic performances and artistic creation, and also the pleasure of life. So these two things were the only two interests of Wycherley, and his plays include Love in a Wood, and it was produced early in 1671 at the Theatre Royal at Drury Lane. Okay, so this was his first play, Love in a Wood, and it was published in the next year. That means in 1672 it was published in the sense staged. Okay, though Wycherley boasted of his having written the play in the age of 19 before going to Oxford, this is probably untrue. So historians, they believe that Wycherley has written this in 1671, but Wycherley himself, he claims that he has composed Love in a Wood before he going into Oxford University when he was just the age of 19. But this must be probably untrue. He just boasted about it. The two last comedies by Wycherley were The Country Wife and The Plain Dealer. The scandalous language and content of the Wycherley's plays restricted their publication and performances for nearly 2 centuries, and over most of that time the original versions were replaced with the Personalised version. See, in these comedy of manners plays, we can see so many sexualized, sexually connotated themes and dialogues, and so direct and licentious behavior and licentious themes are quite common in the Restoration comedies or comedy of manners. Because of that scandalous language and content it contains, Wycherley's play, they were restricted publication and performances nearly about 2 centuries, and most of them, while they were publishing, the original versions were replaced with Personalised versions. The original plays no more available because they were replaced with the Personalised versions. Love in a Wood, The Gentleman Dancing Master, The Country Wife, The Plain Dealer. These are the plays by Wycherley in its chronological order. If you remember them chronologically, then that will be helpful in arriving at the correct answer in some type of questions while you're writing the exam. The next writer is William Congreve. I hope you must have learned The Way of the World by William Congreve. This is again an important, a truly representative play of the Restoration age. William Congreve lived from 1670 to 1729. At the age of 17, Congreve wrote his first book, Incognito, a romantic novel. Okay, so Congreve's first work was not a play, unlike other writers. He wrote a romantic novel when he was just the age of 17, and it was titled as Incognito, which came out in 1692. Okay, and his first play was The Old Bachelor in the year 1693, and it was so successful that it soon established him as a playwright of repute. So by the publication, by the performance of The Old Bachelor, Congreve himself established as a reputed playwright of the Restoration age. So this was his first play, The Old Bachelor. But his first work was a novel, a romantic novel titled as Incognito. Remember that about Congreve. Okay. Other plays include The Double Dealer, The Double Dealer, Love for Love, and The Morning Bride. His best known play, The Way of the World, based on the love story between Mirabel and Millamant, it was not a stage success. Sometimes I have seen plenty of questions asked about The Way of the World. We will have an individual video upcoming in this lecture series about Way of the World and about all the important comedy of manners plays in the upcoming videos. Okay, so Way of the World, even though it was the most representative play of the age, or it's the most well-known play of William Congreve, and we are remembering William Congreve for writing The Way of the World. We are studying it in the syllabus. It got an entrance to the English canon, but still it was not a stage success when it was playing during that time. He became embroiled in the controversy with Jeremy Collier on the morality of the stage. See, Jeremy Collier and were criticizing the comedy of manners, restoration comedy, for its immoral themes, and he also, Congreve also embroiled in the controversy with Jeremy Collier about the immorality of the stage. At the age of 30, he became an elder statesman of letters. Now, moving on about Afra Ben. You have to remember about Afra Ben. Afra Ben belongs to the Restoration age, and she lived from 1640 to 1689. Such a short span of life, but she is regarded as the first professional woman writer for many other reasons. So you can ask whether there were no other women writers before Afra Ben. There were poets, there were some writers, but see, it was mainly women were restricted from all these literary spheres and arenas. Even they cannot play a part in a theatre. So there were restrictions. But still, Afra Ben emerged as a major professional women writer, first professional women writer, because she was so daring. She was so courageous to produce comedy of manners. Okay, Restoration comedies during this time. See, Restoration comedies are full of wit, full of intrigues and dialogues, and full of borderline themes, full of sexually drenched themes and scenes and dialogues we can find. Even then, including all those features, she produced comedy of manners, and she even came up with a kind of novel that we'll see later, Orinoco, which discusses the theme of slavery, and slavery was so popular and so normal in Britain, in white world. Okay, but she addressed it. She was not celebrating it, but she addressed the issue, how these people are suffering, how African or how black people are suffering in general because of slavery. So she addressed those things. So for all these and many other reasons, being a particular most prominent writer of the time, Afra Ben is regarded as the first professional women writer. Okay, she had a Catholic upbringing, and her first play was The Forced Marriage, appeared in 1670. The Forced Marriage, that was her first play, The Forced Marriage, and it was followed by The Amorous Prince and her sole tragedy, Abdelazar. She mainly wrote comedy of manners, but she has written a sole tragedy, only one tragedy by Afra Ben is titled as Abdelazar. After this, after Forced Marriage, after Amorous Prince, she turned to write witty comedies of sexual intrigue, such as The Town Folk. She recognized that the comedy of manners, that genre of plays, are the prominent plays of the time, and she put her hand of writing on that kind of that genre of plays as well. The Town Folk, The Debauchee, The Counterfeit Bridegroom. See, these are some of the major witty comedies or comedy of manners written by Afra Ben. Her best known plays was The Rover, which was so famous that King Charles II's mistress and famous actress Nell Gwynn came out of retirement to play the role of the whore Angelica Bienga. So Angelica Bienga is one of the major character that we can find in her major best known play, The Rover. Okay, and because it was so popular, it was so good, well constructed, Charles II's mistress and a famous actress, Nell Gwynn. Nell Gwynn was in retirement. She was already retired when this play came out, but it was so popular, she wanted to play the character Angelica Bienga. The character was a whore in this play. Okay, she even came out of retirement to play this role. The play centers around two pairs of lovers, Helena Wilmore, Florida, and Belleville. So the entire play, the rover revolves around two pairs of lovers, Helena and Wilmore. One pair of lover, and second pair was Florida and Belleville. Now, Ben also wrote a short novel, Orinoco. So this was not M, it is N. Okay, so it is Orinoco, not Orinoco. I'm sorry for this mistake. So Ben also wrote a short novel, Orinoco. So you can see after Restoration age, which age comes next? It is the neoclassical age, where you can find the rise of the novel. Many kinds of novels are rising. Fiction or prose was the towering genre of the time. So from drama, the major trend was evolved to fictions, especially novels. So Ben in the Restoration age itself, she came up with a short novel known as Orinoco. It was about an African prince Orinoco who falls in love with a young woman, Imoinda. So Orinoco and Imoinda, they were lovers and they belonged to Africa. And from there they were captured and they were brought to England as, and many other places in US and all, as slaves. Imoinda was sold to slavery in Suriname, and Orinoco was also sold as a slave to Guyana. And he united with his lover and tried to attain freedom, but he is caught and badly beaten. So finally, when we can see that these two lovers, they got united, but they were about to attain their freedom, but they were caught and they were badly beaten. Realizing there is no way out, he killed his lover. So he knows how badly these slavery can go, so he killed. There were no other way for them to come out. So Orinoco killed his lover, and while he was committing suicide, he was captured and later executed. Believe me, there were lot of questions asking about Orinoco, the novel by Afra Ben, in the previous question paper. You can see the downloadable PDF material in the website, or in the upcoming video we will have an individual video about Orinoco. Okay, she was a radical writer who managed to break new grounds. I have already told you what all things she has done. She was a prominent writer. She was not writing some poems and all, but she was writing the very trend thing during that time. It was comedy of manners in trend during that, and she even tried that and she was successful about writing comedy of manners. People were accepting the plays written by her. She even wrote a novel in the Restoration age about slavery, when slavery was quite normal in Western world. Now, the next one is John Weinberg. John Weinberg lived from 1664 to 1726, and he was an architect and dramatist. He traveled to France to study art. In France, he was arrested as a suspected English agent, but he got released in 1692. During his imprisonment, he wrote his first comedy titled as The Relapse. Okay, Relapse got another title, Virtue in Danger. And Weinberg wrote The Relapse as a sequel to Colley Cibber's Love's Last Shifts. So Colley Cibber came up with a work known as, a play known as Love's Last Shift. And Weinberg, he wrote a sequel to this play, titled as The Relapse. Okay, while he was in the prison of France in the year 1692. This was followed by another play by Weinberg, The Provoked Wife, which was criticized for its immorality, and he changed his profession to architecture for unclear reasons. So after some time, he again changed his profession to architecture. We don't know the reasons for that clearly. The next comedy of manners writer is George Vakuhar. George Vakuhar lived from 1677 to 1707. Once while performing on stage, he badly injured a fellow actor, which put a full stop to his acting career. So his acting career came to a sudden end when he badly injured a fellow actor while he was acting on the stage. But after that, he never quit quit the profession, drama profession, but he started writing comedies, comedy of manners. And his first comedy was Love and a Bottle in the year 1698, and it was performed by Drury Lane in 1699. And this was followed by another work such as The Constant Couple, Sir Harry Kildare, The Inconstant, The Twin Rivals. So these are the major works by George Vakuhar. You can pause the video and write down these points, because while you write down, you are concentrating on the topic and you are halfway through your studies. The things that you have written, you prone to remember more. Okay, so write down notes. From the textbook, write down, read and write down, or from my slides, that from my videos you can pause and you can write down. While I am discussing these topics, while I am discussing the points, you can write down. You can focus to my voice, at the same time you can look at the screen and you can write down. Okay, in that way you will study more. Okay, maybe you will find that you don't have time for that, only for writing and all, but when you write, you have a note of your own, and also you can come back to that note whenever you want, and you will easily learn the points that you are writing down. Okay, see, his recruiting officer, the recruiting officer, a play by Vakuhar, which was so successful, and Vakuhar became so famous for his work, the recruiting officer. On his deathbed, he completed his masterpiece and the last work by Vakuhar, titled as The Buick's Stratagem in the year 1707, a witty, realistic comedy set in the country. So his huge success was the recruiting officer, but on his deathbed, he completed his last play, and the title was The Buick's Stratagem. Okay, and this was a realistic comedy which was set in a country, in a village setting it has. I think that's all about the major playwrights of the Restoration age. We have mainly saw the comedy of manners writers. I hope this was informative. If you have any doubts, queries and questions, do mention all of them in the comment section, and also go and visit my website without fail, and follow me on Instagram for variety of materials helpful for your NT UGC NET JRF English Language and Literature Paper 2 exam. And at the same time, use this WhatsApp number if you have any doubts regarding any points that we are shared here, or if you want to know the materials, the courses that we are sharing through our website. If you want to know the free bonuses and all we are giving for our students, you can use this WhatsApp number. Okay, meet you in the next video session. Until then, stay tuned to High Point and be happy, guys. Tata, bye bye.